welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. Yay.
Woohoo!
There's Mercedes. There's a little bit of a delay because we're on Skype today, so
yes.
Please forgive any audio delays. We are doing our best.
I'm visiting my grandpappies.
Mercedes said she has a little bit of a dodgy connection, so yeah.
Well,
so
I have
welcome.
internet now, so
Yay. It's been a little bit since we got together, since we recorded an episode. We've been, as you guys may have been listening, we've been to a lot of conventions lately, done some panels and things.
Got a lot of episodes from Anime Bonsai, so
we do have
those
a lot
should
of
be wrapped
episodes.
up by now.
Yes. So this episode I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I'm going to get into it in just a sec. We're just going to go over some quick housekeeping stuff. So conventions coming up. Mercedes, do you want to talk about one that you're going to?
Yes, I'm going to be going to Level Up Expo in Vegas around February, and I'm super excited for that one.
Hooray!
Because it's all video games.
Yes, video games. I'm going to be at SakuraCon this spring. I'll actually be judging for their masquerade. So if any of you are going to be around SakuraCon, or I am going to try to make it to ECCC, but I will definitely be at SakuraCon. And I'll try to do some interviews and recording like I did last year.
I love ECCC. I love it. I've never been to it, but I'd love it.
There's so many cool things to see there. And then our last big announcement is, you may have seen this on the Facebook page, but we made it into the finals for the Voice of the West competition, which is for new and upcoming podcasts. So
yeah, for those who don't know what that is, it's an award given out by the Utah Podcast Summit, which is an amazing summit to go and check out if you are into learning about how podcasts work, how to start your own, and it's just got so many great workshops, and I just want to give them an amazing shout out because I've been going every year since they started, and it's been an incredible help, and the people who run it are super, super nice.
Yay! Yeah, it was really fun. So we are excited to get to do our finals pitch this summer. I think the podcast summit is in June? May. Okay.
May or June. Maybe it's June.
So we'll have details as we go with that. And again, if you guys ever want to reach out to us, give us your stories, give us your uplifting horror stories, whatever you want to send us, ideas for episodes, you can always send us those at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and send us, go to the contact page. There it goes. Like, how do I do that again? I know how my website works.
Yeah.
All right.
Or we have an amazing Facebook group. It's almost 500 strong on Cosplay Stitch and Seam on Facebook. There's a group and there's a fan page. If you want to be part of all the awesome conversations, if you ever need help with a costume, if you just want to get feedback on your costumes, check out the group. If you want to follow us for announcements, follow the page. I think that's...
Well, I do both. It goes in both. Yes.
It goes in both, yes.
Yes. There's also, we've got Twitter and Instagram, which are both at Cosplay Stitch. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about it as far as our social media goes right now.
Yeah.
So
I forget that we have a Twitter and an Instagram.
Yeah, because I run them very poorly, but I run them.
And you do an amazing job.
No, I don't.
So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about our episode a little bit before we introduce our guests today.
Yes.
So today we're talking about gender and cosplay, which I feel like is a very complicated issue, and we wanted to get more opinions and outlook outside of our own. So we have invited as many people as we could. We're actually going to be splitting this into 2 episodes or releasing it as one mega episode.
Depends on how it flows.
Yeah, it depends on how it flows. We'll see. So I totally lost my thread.
I'm going to be here for the first half of it because then I'm currently recording at my grandparents' and I got to go visit the other grandparents. So
very cool.
I will dodge out partway through. But yeah, I'm excited for this. We got a lot of really great guests and it's a really great topic. I know that we had somebody request something along these lines. They wanted to talk about gender and race in cosplay. So we're starting with gender. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who requested that.
Yeah. And I feel like I mean, I don't want to jump and make assumptions about how you identify Mercedes, but I feel like we are like, we have it pretty easy in that, I guess for me, I identify as cis and not everybody does. And I feel like it's really important that we use the platforms that we have to give a voice to people that maybe aren't able to get their voices out.
Yes.
So
and
we
I know
wanted
that
to get...
I've recently just kind of been, I'm whatever you think I am at the moment.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I've gotten to, where it's like I've been thrilled when in cosplay as a dude that somebody calls me a he, and when I'm cosplaying a girl, they call me she, or, you know, whatever in between, they, all those, like, I just find it thrilling to hear those, and that people are using that and being polite about it, and I've never corrected anybody who, like, I'm okay with whatever you call me, essentially.
Right on.
I don't know what you would call that, but yeah.
Well, whatever. We just wanted to make sure that we are able to explore opinions and experiences outside of our own with our podcast. And so, yeah, we're really excited to have a lot of different people helping out with this episode. So without further ado, we're going to stop talking quite as much and let these other people speak. So today on our podcast, we have, I'm going to let Candace go first.
Hey, I'm Candace, or Pink Lemonade Cosplay. I am cisgender, but I'm kind of in the same boat as Mercedes, where it's like, even though I'm cis and I know that I have it really easy, I won't correct people, especially since the last 2 years I've been cosplaying a lot of guys, like more than my normal cosplay routine. And if somebody's like, oh, you're such a cute boy, or people refer to me as a boy or he pronouns, I actually feel more flattered than anything for that. I'm like, I love being a guy as much as I can.
Nice. So. And then next we have Linnea.
Hey, I'm Linnea, or Exit Pursued by Cosplay.
Long time no see, by the way.
Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm proof that cosplay does exist outside of Utah.
Yeah?
I don't believe it.
That's a myth.
Mythical!
But yeah, I don't identify. Like, I consciously don't identify. There are a lot of boxes, and they're all cool, but I just struggle putting myself in one. I exclusively crossplay, and, like, in my day-to-day life, I wear button-downs and bow ties and waistcoats, but like Mercedes and Candace already said, I don't really care what you call me, he or she or they.
Okay, thank you for being on our show. And last we have Tyler.
Yeah, I'm Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
I am also cis. I'm very unmistakably male.
Somebody did mistake you as a girl dressed as a guy once, though.
That is fair.
That's amazing.
They thought he was cross-playing and he wasn't.
So I guess that was flattering. I don't know how to feel about that one, to be honest.
All right. Well, we are glad
you just
to have
were channeling your
here.
feminine side that day.
And then we are going to have some other folks in the afternoon session. We might combine them. We might just do them as separate episodes. So we've got everybody's names, social medias, and let's see. I'm going to have each of you go ahead and tell us how long you've been cosplaying and a little bit about yourselves. I'm going to go in the same order as before. So we'll start with Candace.
All right. I've been cosplaying on paper since 2005, but I think I really started to get into my groove and more serious around 2008, 2009. And like for the longest time, I just kind of felt like I had to cosplay somebody that looked like me. And it's only been like these last like 5 years I've really started to branch out and experiment with cosplay.
All right. Linnea.
I've been cosplaying since 2013. I know a lot of you guys know Renamira. We actually started cosplaying together. But I've been much more off and on.
Very cool. And Tyler.
I have been cosplaying since, I don't know, a year or two before I met Candace, which is
Yeah, it was like 2010.
Something like that. I've done a few competitions, but honestly, I still feel like I cosplay like casually, and I just do it for fun, really.
Very cool. All right. So, we're trying to keep this episode as like beginner, novice, etc. friendly as we can. So for people who maybe don't know a lot about gender, do you mind telling us, and we mentioned a little bit about how we identify, but do you guys mind talking about what that means?
Yeah, so cis means, like, a lot of people get confused what the term cis means. Some people think it's like a slang or it's something offensive. It's not. It just means that the gender that you identify as is the same as the gender you were assigned at birth.
It's actually just Latin.
Yeah. I've seen some people get like super offended by the term cis, thinking that it's like some kind of slang or something offensive, and it's not. It is just a technical term that, yeah, basically just that.
Okay. Linnea?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm blanking.
Are you okay? We could...
Yeah, go ahead. Go to the next person.
Tyler.
Well, that's hard. I don't know how much I can expand on Candace's explanation, to be honest.
Yeah, that's where I was.
I'm too professional. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Someone did their research, unlike the rest of us.
Well, I can add a little bit in here on, I guess, being more, fluidy? I don't know. Where it's like, I don't feel like I fit specifically, like, in a box as well, where it's like, I'm not, like, fully girly and all that stuff. I'm not fully manly either. You know, I'm somewhere in the middle. Sometimes I'm more one thing, sometimes I'm more the other. You know, it just depends on, like, what the day's like, kind of thing. And, that's just how I feel about it, I guess. So...
A bit non-binary?
Yeah. I guess kind of like non-binary, but like, I don't have to have a, you know, she, he, they. Mm-hmm. Like, it can just be whatever you call me.
Yeah, I think the basic concept is that gender is a spectrum.
Yeah.
And not just composed of a series of poles. So, I mean, non-binary might be a pole if you're agender or something, where you don't identify with any gender, or it could be somewhere in between, leaning one way or another, or there are a lot of people who are gender fluid, who feel more like a girl on some days and more like a boy on other days.
So there was there was a thing I went to a while back. It was actually STEM Expo, and one of the side like panels that they were doing, because it was STEM Expo and they were trying to get, you know, as many people into this thing. They were like, try to come to this panel. We're going to be talking about data and how to use it in the classroom. And when you first walked in, they had a bunch of charts on the wall, and you would take stickers and place them in different places depending on like what you felt about yourself. And one of them had like male to female on it, and more people than I thought actually would place near the middle. And very few actually were extreme, I am male, I am female. Like, they brought that inwards more. And that was actually really cool to see, to that, you know, like, more people understand that it's more of a fluidic thing, that they aren't strictly one thing or the other.
For sure. I definitely vibe with that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I was going to say, one of the things that actually blew my mind with how much I cosplay, like, different genders, was somebody mentioned that gender is performative, and a lot of it, you know, you don't even, it doesn't matter, like, what you were born with, it's what you perform as, kind of a thing. And like, that just blew my mind. I was like, oh, I don't have to fit in this box if I don't want to. Like, it's just, this is just like what society is expecting, and that just like totally changed the game for me. It was a really interesting thing.
Yeah, and I feel like cosplay opens that a lot more than like, I think that's one of the things I really like about this community, is that becomes more of a discussion as opposed to something that you learn at like school or social cues you get from like normal activities.
Gotcha. For sure. I'm going to jump to our next question, which is, how has gender changed your perspective about the world around you and about yourself? So I'm going to switch up our order and let Tyler start.
Oh, way to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I can't really say that's really changed a lot for me. I guess partially because a lot of this this like gender thing, gender identity has become a lot more prevalent recently. So it's hard to be like, well, how has this changed? Because I feel like a lot of how I have developed since as I've grown was already in place before all of this gender identity has started to happen.
Okay. How about Linnea?
So I'm on the autism spectrum, and I miss a lot of social cues. And growing up, I missed all the social cues related to gender. Like, I did not understand that there were boys and girls. And I when I went to Utah for my undergrad, suddenly the culture I was in was very gender polarized. And that was very confusing and hard to grapple with. The thing that's really changed lately is being like, I'm not stupid, I wasn't wrong. Like, it's okay to not put that much emphasis on gender.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Candace.
Yeah. So, growing up in that polarized culture, similar to Tyler, my mom actually really wanted me to be a boy, and my dad really, really wanted me to be a girl. So the first time I cut my hair super short, my mom loved it, my dad hated it. And I grew up around like things that typically were boy stuff. Like I played card games and I played basketball, and the whole time my dad was telling me, he's like, you're doing this, but you're still a girl. And getting into cosplay, I very, very felt like I had to find that female character of every show that I connected with. And eventually I just realized, I'm like, if there's no female character for me to connect with, or if I connect with a male character more, I shouldn't feel ashamed to cosplay that character. And I think this gender identity discussion that started up like within the last decade has definitely helped me discover that I can find other people that either connect with that, or people that can help me kind of deal with a lot of my phobias of being a boy and dressing like a boy.
Nice.
And now you cosplay almost exclusively.
Now I cosplay almost exclusively pretty anime boys. It's true. Very good boys.
So I'm going to start with Linnea for the next one. In your experience, what are some of the most common misconceptions about gender?
I feel like this is a landmine of a question. Especially having, like, I did my undergrad in literature, so a lot of feminist theory, masculinity theory. It's just, I think the basic idea is that as a member of a particular gender, whatever that happens to be, you are a part of defining that gender. So whatever you say being a boy is, you might not have all the weight behind you, but you are a contributor to what a boy is.
That's interesting. I like that point. How about Candace?
I think the most common misconception I've come across, both with cis, trans, or gender fluid, is that you can tell what a person's gender is by looking at them or what their interests are. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, because you really can't. I know trans men that love wearing makeup and dresses. I know trans women that still love playing sports and playing like robots and stuff like that. And there's still like very masculine looking trans women and cis women, and there's still feminine looking trans men and cis men. And you really just, there's no way to tell without actually getting to know a person.
I like that. How about Tyler?
Like kind of branching off from Candace's thing, I feel a big misconception is like if you're a male, you have to be into male, like things. You have to love football and sports, and I never did as a kid. I still don't. But, you know, I like I said, I still identify as male, but I'm not into a lot of the things that society deems masculine. So that's it. Like you can have a range of interests that you don't identify as male or female.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
So this one was the question was like, what misconceptions?
Yes.
And so like I wanted to add on here that sex and gender are the same thing.
Yeah, that's a very common one.
That's an incredibly common one, and it's like you said, like gender is performance, it's what you are doing, where sex is definitely different and has its own importance for, you know, health and doctors and things like that, but gender is a different thing. It's what you're performing as. And like for me growing up, like when we played princess games, I was the prince that saved all my princess friends because we didn't have boys playing with us, and so it always seemed to default to me for some reason. And I loved it. I loved that I got to be the one that got to slay the dragon. I didn't want to be the princess getting saved. I wanted to be the one killing the dragons. And like as I've gotten older, I've also embraced more of my that feminine side, where it's like I do like to wear cute dresses sometimes, not a lot, but I like to be cute now and then. But I also like to be more masculine now and then, and it's a performance thing. It's not what's between my legs.
Nice. No, I really liked when you were talking about like having it as like a spectrum, having people that are a lot more in the middle than they think. One of the misconceptions I heard about, you know, hearing that gender or sex, or not sex, but sexuality is on a spectrum, is that like it takes away from being like cis or being trans or being, and it's not to say that those aren't a thing, because the spectrum has like a far right and a far left. It has things that are 100% absolutely that, and it has things that are not sure, that are in the middle, that are still finding, you know, for any reason are somewhere in the middle.
Part of that,
Yes. So it's not to say that it takes away from being 100% anything that you're absolutely sure of. That is still somewhere on a spectrum. It's just, you know, at the far end of either one.
You've got a rainbow, and there's still the red at the beginning of the rainbow, and there's still the indigo at the end of it. They're still there. Just because they're on the ends doesn't mean that it's diminished or less.
Right. So next question, I'm going to start with Tyler. So cosplay lets us take on a lot of different roles. They can change our sex, our gender, our age, even our species, and give us different perspectives. Has cosplay helped you understand gender better? And if so, how?
Oh wait, Violet's at the end of the river. Sorry, I just realized that. Sorry.
Roy G. Biv.
I was wondering
I don't know if it's helped me understand gender better.
This isn't Avatar.
The gender benders.
I don't know if it's helped me understand gender better, but I guess it's helped me come to terms with, like, like I said, people can be into what they want. People can like, you know, wearing a frilly dress or whatever, and cosplay helps that, you know, because it's you're taking on the role of a certain character, and if that character dresses, you know, really as you would deem feminine, even though they might consider a guy, or the cosplayer is a male, you know, I find it to be easier to accept, especially when I first started. So,
okay. How about you, Candace?
Yeah, I think Tyler kind of hit the nail on the head, especially because we were doing a photo shoot a couple weeks ago, and he has, like, this character has really, really long hair, and we were getting him in costume doing his makeup, and his mom comes downstairs like, wow, why you dressed as a girl? And it's like the character was a guy. And so I've come to find that because it, as you were mentioning, is more performance, you get to kind of erase those boundaries. Like, I practice most of my makeup on Tyler when he's in cosplay, and then I apply those skills to myself, and vice versa. I practice like hairstyling on my cosplays and then transfer them to his cosplays. And I think the fact that we both identified as cis but cosplay such a range of different characters really, really helps kind of blur those lines, and it's been really cool.
How about you, Linnea?
Cosplay has been absolutely huge for me in figuring out this whole thing. So this might sound mean, but I have never liked a female character. Like growing
Rude.
up, I read books. Jane Eyre is my exception. I love her.
Awesome.
But I started dressing as the characters that I liked when I started cosplaying. And, of course, they were all boys. And I realized that the reason I like boy characters better isn't because I dislike girls, it's because I identify more with male characters. They're the people I relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, like, huge. And so, like, when my mom was like, why don't you cosplay girl characters? I was like, no.
When I was asked the same thing, I was like, but they're not the heroes right now. And now there are some that are the heroes, and I freaking love them. So it's like, now I can do both. But yeah, it's like, I've been asked that before, too. And it's like, oh.
I really just care, like, relate to it, identify with the one gender and not the other.
And that's okay. Like,
yeah, and it's great, actually, because you mentioned, like, playing the prince when your friends are playing princesses. A lot of my friends only cosplay female characters, so it's very convenient when we do group cosplays.
yes.
That's absolutely how I've been in the last 2 years, too. I'm like, you guys could be the waifus, I will be the husbandos. It's been so nice.
Done.
Exactly.
Okay, our next question I'm going to jump to is, why do you feel talking about gender in the cosplay community is important to you? And I'm going to go with Candace.
I think it's important, especially in a community, because there are a lot of people that feel like they have to fit in a box, and they feel like especially people that can't come out to their parents, and they don't know where to turn to, and they don't know who to ask for advice on where they fit in the world and are trying to discover themselves. I think the cosplay community has been a more than fantastic place for people to discover where they belong. I know people that have discovered their identity by cosplaying people of the opposite gender for the first time and have felt like it was the first time they ever felt like a whole person. And so I think we need to be able to keep the discussion alive so they know that they can come talk to us, or if they're not sure who they are, they can figure it out, or even if you don't figure it out, you still belong.
Okay, nice. Linnea.
I mean, let's talk practical. What bathroom are we allowed to use at cons? And that's not a question. That's just, I think it's an important thing to talk about, because when people are more aware, they're a lot more, accepting. It's like, if a trans person comes into your restroom, and you've never talked about the gender spectrum at all, that might be surprising to you. If it's something you're aware of and have been talking about, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, cool, you know?
For sure. And that's definitely an important conversation that I think a lot more conventions are having, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Tyler.
I feel like it's not just gender, but like really any topic, just opening up the discussion, leads people in towards accepting something a little bit better. It like I said, it opens up that discussion, so like people are more willing to listen, and it could even change their point of view on something, like if they were looking a certain way.
Nice. Let's see. Anything you want to add, Mercedes?
I think I got covered pretty good, actually. I liked that.
I really appreciate I think it's important that the more we talk about it, the more we normalize that it should be talked about, and that it's not a taboo. It's not something to shun. It's something that we need to like embrace and understand about one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I think talking about it's good.
Especially with like the youth. Like there's so many young people in cosplay. Like my niece, she's like 16 and I made her first cosplay recently, and it's like really cool being an adult now, seeing like all these kids getting into it. And it's like I want them to be able to talk about this stuff too and know that it's okay.
Well, I feel like it also helps, like I said, just having the discussion open. I don't know if anyone else has really noticed, but it seems like a lot of people in the cosplay community are more willing to come out as their preferred gender rather than staying in the closet or just accepting their given role.
Yeah.
It's because, like, the community is already very open with that, and I really love that it is, and would like it to continue to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was at, I can't remember where it was, but I had been talking about, like, gender and LGBTQIA plus issues and things like that with a friend, and then I stepped into, like, a completely different environment, and I was, like, discussing these same issues, and the room just got quiet, and I was like, oh, I forgot I was in a safe place before, and there's people that don't feel the same way anymore. It was just like this, like, chills I got. I was just like, oh no.
I've so done that before.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the more we bring those conversations out and we, like, help normalize them, I think the better it will be. Let's see. So, what advice do you have for people who might be questioning their gender? I'll go ahead and start with Linnea.
Don't put on too much pressure is my biggest piece of advice. When I was first questioning, I was like, I have to figure this out. I have to figure this out so I can, like, come out or whatever. But, like, obviously, depending on the conservativeness of your community, you can kind of just do whatever you want. Like, even if it's in private, like, you can dress the way you want, you can act the way you want, without deciding how that way compares to specific boxes or specific check marks on a list.
Take it as slow or as fast as you want.
Yeah, I really like that.
Exactly.
Candace.
That was kind of sums up what I was going to say, like the take it as fast or as slow as you want. I think the only thing I could add to that is really just don't feel like labels mean anything. Like, you can have a label that just means something to you. And if somebody tells you, like, well, that's not what that means, who cares? Like, as long as it feels right to you.
Right
on. And you don't even need a label.
Right on. Tyler.
I don't think I have any advice, really, to be honest. I guess don't be afraid to express yourself the way you want. Like you're you, no matter what. So it's whether you're male or female isn't going to change it.
Nice.
So
actually, go ahead.
You go first.
Okay.
I've got 2 bits of advice, but you go first.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually, like, I was kind of worried to say anything at the beginning of our episode, but I really vibe with what, like, Candace and Mercedes have said about, like, being somewhere in the middle. And I actually kind of, like, dipped my toe in recently because I updated my Twitter so that my pronouns are in bio because that's important. And I said she, her, or they, them. And, like, the number of people who have started using they, them, and, like, I get, like, this warm fuzzy when people use it. I'm like, oh, that feels nice. Like, people are, like, so respectful and kind, and they use what makes me happy, and it feels so good, you know? So I would say that's a good way to see how you feel and how you react to things.
I like that.
Yeah.
My thing is, like, if you've... So I've got 2 bits of advice. So one of them is that if you've picked a pronoun for you, and somebody, especially if it's a stranger, someone who doesn't know you, and they use the wrong one, don't get mad at them. I can understand, like, if a relative or someone just, like, keeps doing it over and over and over, and I understand how annoying that can be. But if it's a complete stranger, we need to still have this idea of being kind and easing this in to society and whatnot, and not just yelling at somebody. I've seen that happen a couple of times, and it's even made me, like, just not want to hang out with that person at all, when someone was demanding that, and yelling about, oh, you've used my pronoun wrong, to someone they don't even know. And it's just kind of scary looking and just makes you look like a jerk.
And it's kind of bad press for the community at large.
Yes.
That's actually Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
That's actually a real phobia I have. Last Bonds, I actually did misgender one of my friends completely by accident. I called him she, and I immediately caught myself, and I was just, like, head over heels, like, apologizing, like, going freaking out, just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to misgender you. I was, like, freaking out, and he just, like, it's no big deal. Like, he's like, I know you didn't mean it, I know you know that I'm a guy. And, like, that was probably one of the coolest things ever, because I'm so terrified of misgendering people.
And I was going to say, on the other end of that, my other bit of advice is that, like, if somebody does say, oh, hey, I'm a she, or I'm a he, or a they, or zir, and, you notice that they've said that, try to remember. See, like, I have a hard time remembering names, but I do try to go out of my way to remember that that's what this person prefers. And I've even gotten to the point where, like, when in doubt, I just use they.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good protocol to use anyway. Like, I've been trying to do that more and more for people I just don't know. Like, maybe they present as openly femme or masc or whatever, but, like, I don't know for sure.
Yes.
I've been trying a lot more to use they, because I literally don't know. And even the dictionary folks are like, hey, they is totally acceptable as a non-gendered pronoun now. And I'm like, yay. So...
It actually has been for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also to add on top of that, when in doubt, it's okay to ask.
Yeah.
Most people are usually like, oh yeah, it's this or that. Like, I recently did that with some kind of new coworkers at my job, and I was like, oh, by the way, what pronouns do you guys prefer? And found out it was theys and he's all around. So I was like, oh, perfect, great. And I actually wrote it down because I'm horrible with names. And so I'll remember the next time that they come in. So,
nice.
That's me trying to go out of my way to help.
Yeah, it's increasingly okay to just ask people. Mm-hmm. And I love that you can just say, hey, what do you prefer to be? What is your pronoun? What is,
Yeah, obviously be nice about it, but...
Yes.
Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And it's like, and I know, like, this episode is making a big deal out of all of this, but it's like, you don't have to make a big deal out of it when you ask. It's just a casual, by the way, what's your pronoun? Great, thanks.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't have to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Well, and especially, like, if we're at a convention where people are performing all different types of genders, like, if you're in cosplay, you may not be the gender that you identify as. And, it is a common mistake to identify, like, it's going to be all over the place. So asking, being polite, striving for, like, gender neutral, I think is really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all just agree.
It's all just, a word of affirmation. Just yes.
Just yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's see. We went through that question. How can we as a community make changes and be more sensitive to all genders? So we've talked a little bit about that with, like, asking pronouns or using gender neutral pronouns. We've talked a little bit about the bathroom issue. But how do you guys feel like we can make more changes and be more sensitive? So I'll start with Candace.
I think just being kind of aware of how you come off to people, and that's something that I try to work on. That's something I've recently been trying to work on, is that I've noticed that I am kind of a rude person, and I try not to be. And a lot of times I don't know that I'm being rude. So I think just learning people skills is the first step. Like, obviously, like we mentioned asking, and I said just ask nicely. Like, sometimes the way you ask could come off as ruder than you're intending. And that's something I'm really bad at right now. So
one of the things I've been told is like I mentioned in Twitter how you can have your pronouns in your bio. Like, that's not something that you have to have just like because you identify a way that is air quotes different. Yeah. It's something that everybody should have.
Oh,
like,
I absolutely agree. I need to change my Twitter.
Yeah, even if you feel like the way that you identify is obvious, again with air quotes. I'm sorry you can't see my air quotes. It's really good. It makes people feel more comfortable that like, oh, I can post mine, you know. Travis, Tyler. Oh my gosh.
What did I just say, Pannon? What did I just say?
Not the worst thing I've been called today.
I mean, no offense, but I would love to have Travis McElroy on the show. Like, just...
Yeah, I think it was a mix of that and the jacket and just like Travis touchdown. I was like, T name. I'm so sorry, Tyler.
It's all right. I would say just try not to be confrontational. I know some people, I won't name any names or get political, but some people are. Try not to do that, like with the bathroom issue. Like when someone's going to the bathroom, honestly, it's none of your damn business, you know? So like just let people take care of themselves.
Take a pee in peace. Come on.
Yeah.
Linnea, same question.
I totally agree with Tyler, and I'm also thinking just don't be judgy on either side. Like if someone who identifies as trans and someone messes up with your pronoun or is like gives you a funny look when you're in the bathroom, just don't be judgy. And then the other way around, of course. Like, if you see someone that you don't expect in a place you don't expect, like, let them take care of themselves. Exactly. And if we all let the little things go a little more, I think that we can move to a much more healthy place with this.
Yeah.
One of the really nice things I'm seeing more and more at conventions is people having like pins or identifiers on their con badge or on their lanyards, things like that have their pronouns or have how they like to be referred. And I love that because it makes me as like someone going in not knowing anything about this person and like, oh, I can be respectful of this person without like having to like make it into a conversation. I can just, you know, naturally know and talk to them as they want to be talked to.
Yeah. Adding to that, actually, because that just jumped to my mind, con staff, I think, really should be more aware of letting people use their preferred names on their name badges. I know there have been a few cons that's like you have to have the name that's on your ID, and sometimes that's not the name people want to be called. So I think that's another one that we really need to transition to for more cons.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was super pleased to see pronoun ribbons at DaishoCon this year, which is like rural Wisconsin conventions. So that made me really happy.
Nice. That's awesome. Let's see. So what can we do on a personal level to be more sensitive and aware? So we've talked about like some of the broader things, but how can we as individuals try to fight our own ignorance, I suppose? I'll start with Tyler.
Well, kind of like what Candace was saying, like if you misgender someone, like, you know, hopefully you're not doing it on purpose, like apologize first and just try to, you know, call people by their preferred pronouns is, I think, a big step you can take.
Yeah, I think one thing to be aware of too, like with the misgendering and people getting upset over it, is like, I mean, it's unfortunate if you're the person that's getting yelled at about it, but also to like look at from their perspective and how many times that might have happened to them and how it's a microaggression that just builds and builds, and it can definitely be upsetting. So just trying to put yourself in another person's shoes is always helpful.
Yeah.
Candace.
Actually, when I was reading this question through the original email, there's this anime series that I've been recently watching, and they did a whole episode about this issue. And one of the things that one of the characters said that really resonated was that his mom's friend is trans male, and he's like, I can never understand what he went through. I can never identify with that. I don't know what dysphoria feels like, but I can empathize with that. And I think that's the big thing. Like you said, putting yourself in their shoes. Like, I think even if you don't have any kind of understanding of it, if you're like Tyler and he is on the far male side, he could still understand how women feel or how trans people feel. And he could still empathize that, even though he's never felt what they felt.
I like that. Linnea.
So the number one cause of dysphoria for me is when people make assumptions about me. Like, I go to a sewing group and everyone's like, oh, here's how you can get your cocktail dress to fit. Your figure would look good with this kind of cocktail dress.
Oof.
And I go home from that feeling not very good.
Yeah.
So, don't make generalizations, like, especially if you're teaching a panel or something, don't assume everyone in the room wants a certain look or a certain thing, you know?
Right, yeah.
That has come up in a few panels for me.
Gotcha. Mercedes.
I was gonna say, no matter what background you come from, I try to genuinely listen to people who have a different background than you do. It's hard. They're biases for a reason, and not all of them go away by just listening to someone. But if you actively listen and try to understand their side of the story, where they come from, what their life is like, and genuinely want to understand, you'll find that you'll be able to crush some of those biases down a lot more and have a more of an understanding of just how incredibly beautiful and varied people in our world are.
Nice. I really like that. Like, I feel like we have a similar approach to cosplay that we should maybe take toward learning more about the world outside ourselves. And that is, like, you don't actually stop learning. Like,
Yeah.
the more that you are open to and receptive to new ideas, to new viewpoints, the, like, more well-rounded and better person you're going to be. Yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
Got so touchy there.
I got so because I mean, I'm
Warm,
sure
fuzzy
today I'm going to
feelings.
say something. I'm going to misstep somewhere, and I'm going to say something, and I hope someone like mentions it to me so that I don't make that mistake in the future, because I want to learn and I want to be better. And you know, it is of course way easier when someone says, hey, nicely, like, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Here's something you can do in the future. You know, people are more receptive to learning that way. Whereas you said that and that's not okay. And I hate you now. And I think there's this like knee jerk reaction to be like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to like educate, and we also need to like take that same perspective inward where we need to educate ourselves.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so anything we've missed or that you guys want to add? I'm going to go around the circle again. Let's do Linnea.
Dysphoria is a real thing. And like we said earlier, if you haven't experienced it, you can at least sympathize with it still.
I like that. Candace.
Mostly mine comes from people that are either transitioning from one to the other or are cross-dressing or cross-playing. Make sure you do it safely. That's a really big thing. When I first started trying to cosplay as men, a lot of the transgender community actually came to me to give me advice about binders, about makeup, about how many layers I should wear and what temperature. Like, make sure that you are not pushing yourself to try to fit into something that is not safe.
I like that. That's a good point. Tyler.
Yes. I guess mostly just the empathy thing. Like, everyone has a different point of view on these topics, and like if we just take the time to listen to each other, I think it's going to be big steps, towards acceptance all around.
Very cool. Mercedes?
Be kind. Comes back to that golden rule. Be kind to the people that you meet. It's really easy to fall into the cycle of vengeance and vengeance and vengeance, where it's like, well, I was hurt this way, so I'm gonna hurt back, and then that person does the same thing, and it continues. Be the one to stop that kind of cycle by being kind, and you don't have to be what you were essentially taught growing up, kind of thing. You don't have to spread the anger, you can spread the kindness, and it doesn't make you weak, it makes you stronger.
Right on. I think that's a good note for us to wrap on.
Yeah.
So now that we've had our serious business discussion,
It got deep.
Thank you guys for sharing. It is really cool, and I think we should definitely have more discussions of this sort. We always like to end with a cosplay horror story. So would anyone like to share one?
I was told to share this one by Misty and E Studios, actually.
Okay.
So, about 2 years ago now, I cosplayed Kunihiro from Token Rambu, and this was the cosplay that makes me want to swear off stripes forever, because I had to create the white lines, like the pinstripes in his coat, and I just decided, I'll just straight stitch all of it, because I don't have an embroidery machine. And Tyler can attest to this, because I was at his house, I was just sewing straight seams, and about halfway through, I actually fainted onto my machine.
Oh my god!
Because I had not slept in 3 days, and it got to the point where he pulled me off the machine. He's like, "You go nap."
Oh, jeez.
It's like, "I will be back in an hour. You better be napping when I get home."
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's why a big deal. Safety should always be your top priority when cosplaying.
For sure. Absolutely. Anybody else want to share a horror story? That's scary.
I have one.
Yeah.
It goes along with the theme of the show. The only female cosplay I've ever done was Midna from Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
And it was the imp version, so not the tall, pretty one.
I beg to differ.
She's still awesome. I love her. But I met just in the dealer's hall, he had a booth, my favorite comic book artist of all time. And I started gushing over his work and talking with him and stuff. And 2 minutes into me talking to him, he looks at me and he says, "You're a girl, right?" And I'm like,
Ouch.
Yeah. And he was like, "Good, because I've been staring at your boobs this whole time."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh my gosh."
That's not a pickup line. For any guys listening, that's not a pickup line.
No, it's not. You shouldn't meet your heroes, people.
Don't meet your heroes. Oh no.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Oh boy. That's a doozy.
Yep, it was.
Wow.
How about you, Tyler?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. There's the one where someone thought I was cross-playing as a dude.
Yeah, that was funny.
So we were doing Haikyuu, and I was Asahi. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the people in the fandom of Haikyuu are female, so maybe that's why they thought I was cross-playing. But we found some other Haikyuu cosplayers. We approached and we were talking, and who were just I'm not normally very talkative, so it got to a point where I actually said something. And one of the girls that we ran into, she kind of looked at me, eyes wide, and she's like, "Oh, you're actually a dude."
Oh, boy.
Which is funny, because his beard is real.
Yeah.
It's the best fake beard I've ever seen.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Mercedes, did you want to add one?
I'm trying to think of one.
I think that's a no.
Yeah, I was like, I think I've had...
Oh, I had a car full of party girls try to pick me up once because they thought
Wow.
Must be awkward.
Yeah, I was dressed as Ike, and they, as soon as I talked, they were like, "Oh, never mind."
Boo.
Oh, it's pretty amazing. I don't know if I've shared this one yet. It's not necessarily a horror story, but more like just funny. I don't know if I've shared this one yet, but I'm going to share it again. And if I've shared it already, I apologize. So I was running on a convention as Link. And there were like all these other Links at the convention, of course. And so I was always like, let's take pictures, let's do photos. And I ran into this father and son who were both dressed as Link. And it was so cute. All right. And we're taking photos together and whatnot, and he leans over and says, "Man, it's so nice to find another dude dressed as Link, because it's always all these girls." And I just grinned. And I was like, I'm not gonna tell him. Because it's like, cool, I passed, I win.
Good work.
Good work on my part, yes. But no, it was great, and I was like, I'm not gonna break that for you. So yeah, there's my funny story.
One more time, let's get the names of our guests here and where can they follow you online.
Yes.
Linnea?
I'm Linnea. My tag is @Pursued by Cosplay on Instagram or /Pursued by Cosplay on Facebook.
Nice. Candace?
I'm Candace. I am Pink Lemonade Cosplay. You could find me on Instagram just @Pink Lemonade Cosplay or Facebook. It's facebook.com/PL Cosplay because there is another Pink Lemonade Cosplay on there that never updates her page.
And Tyler?
I'm Tyler, obviously, and you can find me on Instagram at KawaiiCast.
Spelled KAWAII?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Also,
Thank you
for
guys.
those who don't know, Kawaii Cast is awesome. It's also another podcast.
Aw, thanks for the shout out.
We talk about anime and I scream a lot. It's great.
And JoJo's.
And JoJo's.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to have an opinion.
It's true. I banned him from that. I gave him one chance.
Oh.
If you guys want to reach out with your own horror stories, your own happy stories, or just ideas you have for podcast episodes, you can send them to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com
Or go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the contact form. You can also comment on there or join us in our Facebook group.
Hooray! Yeah. So I guess I'm supposed to do a pun, right?
I'm ready.
Oh boy. So it's easy to get thread up with ignorance, but just like in cosplay, don't be spoolish and check your bias.
Oh.
Yay!
I want that
Thanks
one on a
everybody.
shirt.
Bye.
Bye.